Hand-to-hand fights in Naruto have always been one of the series' strong suits. Some of people's favorite fights from the series normally include a section of the fight where characters are just throwing hands with each other. Rock Lee vs. Gaara, Naruto vs. Sasuke, Naruto vs. Sasuke Part 2. I could go on and on, but you get the point. There are obviously varying degrees to Taijutsu skill, just like there would be with any other part of fighting, but there is one character in particular that has top tier combat skills, and I think they've gone ignored for far too long. That being the main character himself, Naruto Uzumaki. I've gathered every fight relevant to dissecting Naruto's Taijutsu skill and the progression of that skill throughout the series, and I'm going to explain in full why Naruto is god tier when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. Before we begin, I'd like to ask if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as I'd greatly appreciate it. When it comes to Naruto as a kid, he doesn't have too many impressive feats of Taijutsu skill, but he certainly does have a lot of power. There is obviously this insane combo that he throws at Sasuke, literally one of the most iconic combos of all time, but while Naruto was violating Sasuke here, he was also massively stronger than him after gaining a lot of the Nine Tails chakra. Similar in this regard is his fight with Neji. Neji is obviously a very skilled Taijutsu user. The Gentle Fist is one of the best Taijutsu moves in the entire series, and the 8 trigrams palm technique just sort of takes that to the next level, even to the point where after Neji debuted the 64 palms, it's just beginning, the head of the clan mentioned that a member of the side branch had completely surpassed the members of the main branch. But when Naruto gets his big QB amp, he doesn't really engage in hand-to-hand combat with Neji. They have a couple of clashes, but it really just shows that Naruto and Neji are equal to one another in terms of speed, and they aren't on the ground or anything like that. They do these soaring strike Dragon Ball Z punches at each other, and then have a Nine Tails punch to rotation clash. Naruto vs. Gaara is also another example. He kind of just makes 1,000 clones and beats Gaara up. I'm not going to get into info dumping all of these. It's kind of apparent. Just think of any time Kid Naruto beat someone up in Taijutsu and think about how much Taijutsu skill went into it versus just raw power. Not saying Naruto is a dunce when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, but he's not the Taijutsu god that he would become later on in the series either. When do I really think Naruto started to get more skilled at hand-to-hand combat? Likely during his training at Mount Miyaboku with the Sage Frogs, because as far as I can tell, his training with Jiraiya did not include this, and as we all know, he didn't seem to learn that much during his 3 years away anyway. After that is when he trains with Kakashi for the Rasen Shuriken, and that just involves a ton of chakra control exercises, nothing Taijutsu oriented. The first time we see Naruto sparring with someone in hand-to-hand is with Pa on the cover of chapter 420, and they are specifically training his Kawazu Kumite or Frog Kata, whichever one you want to call it. I'd like to take a brief moment to go over some of the Taijutsu moves that Naruto knows, and specifically the ones that he can use or access while he's in Sage mode, that being Frog Kata and Frog Strike. Both of these moves have entries in the 4th data book that I want to read, but they also have pretty impressive appearances in the manga. In case you need your memory jogged a bit, Frog Kata is what Naruto used to one-hit the Predator Path of Pain after he missed his punch, and Frog Strike is what Naruto used on the Four Tails to free the rod from his skin that was temporarily binding him to the Jinchuriki. Anyway, both of these moves are insanely strong. I'm going to start with Frog Kata since I think Frog Strike is actually kind of broken and it's derived from Frog Kata anyway. This is what Data Book 4 has to say about Frog Kata. A terrific taijutsu that the ones who learnt Senjutsu mastered. It's the Frog Kata. By turning into Sage mode, the user reaches the point of being able to take in natural energy, and the power of perception is expanded. With it, you can sense the movement of the opponents to the point of releasing an intense counterattack that matches the enemy's attack. Furthermore, the energy becomes part of the user's body, and both the range and power of the attack rise. It's a flawless taijutsu that has no openings either in attack or defense. So not only can Naruto precog the attack you're about to throw at him, he can throw counterattacks that don't even have to hit you to land a hit on you. It kind of makes me wonder why Naruto doesn't use this anymore, but it really doesn't matter. Naruto used this to one-shot the Predator Path of Pain, and it's not like, oh yeah, Naruto hit him away. No, Naruto hit the Path of Pain so hard that in order for it to get back up, it had to be revived by the Naraka Path of Pain. As far as I know, the pains have the durability and I guess the same HP bar, however you want to call it, as normal people, meaning you can kill a Path of Pain and put it out of commission. What I mean by that is that even though the pains are already dead bodies, you can sort of kill them again. I guess an example of this would be Naruto hits the Diva Path with Rasengan, but he doesn't destroy it, but it still knocks it out of commission for the rest of the fight. The Ashura Path is the only known one to survive lethal damage done to its body, but if you think that can apply to all pains, that only strengthens the argument I'm about to make, which is that Naruto essentially one-shots a pain and unalived it with this Taijutsu move. I know it isn't technically alive anyway, like I mentioned earlier, but you get what I mean. He one-shot a pain, and everyone should be able to understand that at the bare minimum. The next Taijutsu move granted access to is Frog Strike, and this is what the databook has to say about that. It's one of the Taijutsu of the Frog Kata passed down on Mount Myoboku. It gathers the Senjutsu chakra taken in and needs the energy from Mother Nature onto the palm. By slapping an enormous power on the target of the attack, it causes the first and probably last damage. This technique is an inside destruction taijutsu that doesn't destroy the outside surface and transmit the power of the chakra like a wave. For this reason, it is effective also against enemies who have a strong defense. Like I mentioned earlier, this taijutsu move is the move he used on the Four Tails in combination with one of his KCM clones to remove the rod that was binding it to its Jinchuriki. This move essentially is Sage Mode Gentle Fist that attacks your opponent's insides rather than the outside, and we actually see this in the manga itself. When Naruto strikes the Four Tails, you can see the chakra transmit inside of it and push the rod out. In case anyone needs a refresher, this is extremely potent and important in the world of Naruto because, as Kakashi mentions, these shinobi and ninja cannot train the insides of their body or their organs. So if Naruto attacks your organs, you're pretty much finished. So aside from being trained in hand-to-hand combat, Naruto gains access to both of these completely broken moves, and it really only gets better from here. Now, I know that Storm 3 isn't canon, but it's also really cool and I want to talk about it anyway. So do you remember this scene here when Naruto saves Sakura from Sasuke and gets a cut on his cheek, and then Naruto and Sasuke proceed to do their Rasengan Chidori clash? Storm 3 adds in a little bit of filler in the middle of here, and Naruto and Sasuke proceed to engage in one of the coolest fights in the franchise as a whole. And while Sasuke is kind of tired and doesn't have his Sharingan here, that doesn't make him any less skilled aside from him being unable to precog his opponents. And Naruto is shown time and time again clashing with Sasuke, properly countering his moves, and at one point he even tricks Sasuke with a shadow clone to land a pretty clean punch on his face just before the end of the fight. Like I said though, this game sadly isn't canon and this fight is nowhere to be seen in the manga or anime, and it goes down a completely different way. I just wanted to mention it because it seems like even across canons, they recognize that at this point Naruto's taijutsu is pretty good. And if you want to be super technical, I guess this is technically kenjutsu because Sasuke is using a sword and Naruto is using a kunai, but whatever, let's get back to the manga. I'm not gonna count Naruto's fight against the Raikage or any of the Zetsu because he was really only playing defense on the Raikage and the Zetsu only get dealt with by Rasengan. But if I were to say where Naruto got his next pretty impressive feat, it'd have to be against Itachi. Keep in mind, in between the last point I talked about and now, Naruto has gained KCM, so he has access to a few new abilities that he didn't have before, just like with Sage Mode, but they are a lot simpler this time around and need less explanation, so I'll go over them when it's appropriate. When Naruto is fighting against Itachi, I have made the argument before that Itachi or Naruto doesn't have to be moving at full speed technically or going all out per se, especially since Itachi is a zombie at this point and taking orders directly from Kabuto, and Naruto is clearly being put on the defensive while also trying to tell Itachi about Sasuke and what he's doing now. I think what's really impressive here is that Naruto is able to combat a Sharingan user and dodge their attacks, and for the first time, I don't think that's due to a huge difference in power. The clash starts with Naruto and Itachi throwing a blow at each other, but then quickly becomes Itachi pushing back Naruto, and Naruto is staying in there, seemingly blocking all of Itachi's attacks that he throws at him. And Itachi is so skilled in this fight that he's even dodging Killer Bee's attacks when he's not even looking at him. The anime stretches this out a little bit more and has Naruto doing a lot more clashes with Itachi instead of just playing straight defense. Just mentioning that for anyone who'd be interested. This is where I'll mention Naruto gained something valuable, that being his Nine Tails chakra arms. These next two things aren't directly tied to Taijutsu, but when I mention them, you'll see how they could easily be applied to hand-to-hand combat. Chapter 553 opens with Naruto appearing behind Mu, the second Tsuchikage, or technically one of Naruto's clones, but whatever, that doesn't really matter. He appears behind Mu holding a planet Rasengan and tries to hit him with it, and it misses. Gaara then holds out a piece of sand, and Naruto is able to use a chakra arm from his torso to spring load himself back at Mu, and when Mu threatens to launch his jutsu faster than Naruto does, Naruto uses another chakra arm out of his normal arm to get to Mu before Mu can do that. Then Naruto appears across the battlefield to fight the third Raikage. He uses his chakra arms to form a Rasen Shuriken, launches an arm at the Raikage, and when the Raikage dodges, he hooks the arm around to throw the Rasen Shuriken. And when the Raikage dodges again, Naruto runs and catches the jutsu with Nine Tails chakra to slam it into the Raikage. Now, like I said, while those examples are not explicitly taijutsu, I'm sure you can see a way in which they can easily be used in a taijutsu fight. And then Naruto was able to use the danger sensing as well as speed amp from Sage mode to make the Raikage clash with himself and blow a hole in his chest so that the Shinobi Alliance could seal him away. This is extremely impressive because the third Raikage has been running around the field essentially impenetrable at this point. Tamari, the strongest wind style user, couldn't do anything. Naruto couldn't do anything with his Rasen Shuriken. Even though he was able to take the Raikage's cloak off of him, it wasn't able to incapacitate him long enough for him to be sealed. So this was a really impressive feat whenever Naruto managed to pull it off in Sage mode. Also, can I just mention, this is a clone of Naruto bodying two Kage back to back, and he did get some help from other people, but mostly in the Raikage fight it was just information, and then in the other fight the only help he really received when taking down Mu was Gaara putting the piece of sand down and then actually sealing Mu at the end of the fight. But other than that, Naruto did the heavy hitting work to put them down. Now, this next fight I could cover in great length, but for the most part I do not think that that's needed at all, and I'm talking about Naruto and B versus Obito 6th Jinchuriki. There was a long time ago that everyone tried to manipulate the context of this fight, but I don't see people doing that anymore, so I won't go out of my way to debunk any of that stuff. Naruto does display in this fight that he doesn't even need to see you in order to combat you when he's in KCM, because he can see your intent instead, which is a pretty busted ability. Now, this is just in the context of Naruto being blinded by lights, so it may be different if someone's to come up from behind him while he's currently occupied with another opponent or something, but that's whatever. Aside from this, like I mentioned earlier, Naruto uses his Sage mode Taijutsu in order to save the Four Tails from being binded to his Jinchuriki. After this, it's a really long time before Naruto starts engaging in hand-to-hand combat again. As far as I'm aware, he just beats up Ten Tails clones, and then the next time he fights hand-to-hand is against Madara's Limbo clones whenever he launches the Infinite Tsukuyomi. Then in the anime, Naruto manages to compete with Sasuke in hand-to-hand combat. I think it's pretty clear they're both holding back in power at the beginning of the fight, but I don't think that that means they're holding back their skill in any way. Especially since Sasuke is doing things we've never seen him do before, like using Naruto's hand to complete his hand signs. And while Naruto definitely is losing for the most part, just being able to keep up with the Sharingan user in hand-to-hand combat like this is pretty impressive. Naruto even starts using his chakra arms in Taijutsu like I mentioned he could earlier. He uses it to escape Sasuke's Inton, and then uses them to keep Sasuke at a distance after that. Throughout the Taijutsu exchange as well, you can see Naruto trying to use the sign for shadow clones multiple times, but Sasuke just isn't letting him. He keeps canceling it out. Then at the end of the fight, Naruto and Sasuke engage in another Taijutsu battle, but this is just sort of like a all-out brawl between two clearly fatigued people. It was, however, a nice move whenever Sasuke was using the Chidori on Naruto, and his Sharingan went out and Naruto was able to notice and then land the meanest uppercut on Sasuke and send him flying into the cliffside. Now we can move on to Naruto versus the different Otsutsuki, mainly Momoshiki and Ishiki, because Naruto just tortures these guys in hand-to-hand combat. For both of these sections, I'm going to be sticking to the anime since both these fights in the manga lack any significant showing of skill and lack any sort of excitement in general. Naruto in his fight with Momoshiki was using Wing Chun, and I need to mention I'm not going to explain this in depth because I'm not a martial arts expert, so describing all the different moves Naruto did is kind of beyond the scope of my capabilities. But if you look into it, quick Google search Naruto using Wing Chun on Momoshiki, you can find tons of information on it. It is worth noting though that Momoshiki is pretty good at taijutsu himself. He's shown pressing the tenketsu points like how the 8 trigrams palm techniques work. Then versus Ishiki, Naruto is shown using a boxing style of fighting, absolutely just picking Ishiki apart. On both of these guys, Naruto can't use ninjutsu for one reason or another. So he gets to show his hand-to-hand prowess in its full form, and it just doesn't disappoint. Naruto's skill here is more like a show rather than tell, so from the clips in the back you can definitely see what I'm talking about here.